Hi everyone, my name is Chris, and this is Anime Debate. This week we're going to debate Weeaboo versus Otaku. If you want a more in-depth explanation of what both of these are before you watch the debate, I will send you guys over to my friend Joey, the anime man. I say his name a lot. He's a really cool guy. He made a pair of videos to explain this very well and from a Japanese perspective, which really helps round the whole thing out. So go check it out, and I'm going to get started right now. I'm going to start with Otaku. So Otaku, what are they? Otaku, I believe, are anime and manga fans that are just really into that part of the genre. They're basically nerds and geeks that focus on the animation and the comic books. That's really what they are. And they can be normal people, they can be obsessive, they can be all across the board. They're not necessarily the recluses and the social outcasts that the anime Welcome to the N.H.K. will have you believe. I believe that, based on what Joey says in the video, that at this point in Japan, the term has kind of been neutralized, where you can be an otaku and not be looked down upon completely. I think there are extremes within that subsector of culture where you can just be insane about it. It means like you're a person who has 50 body pillows. Like you go in a room and you see all the little the waifus all over the place, and you're like, oh my god, this person has a problem, And that's the thing. That could happen with any thing that you get way too into. That could happen any day of the week. I personally self-identify sometimes as an otaku, even though I know that in Japan it can be known as a derogatory term. The fact is that I am a big fan of anime and manga. I watch a lot of it because of this show. I watch a lot of it in part, though, because I just really enjoyed it. It's a part of my childhood. It's a part of my present. It makes me happy. It's really entertaining. I think it's super well done. Do I think it's the greatest thing on the planet? No. But do I think it's amazing? Heck yes. The thing is, I am an otaku in American, I guess, terms at least, because I love anime and manga, but I don't obsess. I get figurines every now and again because I think they're cool, but I am not someone that runs away from social situations and only focuses on the world within my mind in which the manga and anime have influenced. I think that being an otaku is a really cool thing because, again, it's like being a nerd and a geek, but in a very specific sense. You're focused on a very specific thing. In Japan, an otaku is someone who is very focused on a very specific thing and not necessarily anime and manga. So to that end, they can be awesome things. So if you feel like you're an otaku and you feel bad about that, don't. You can totally be that and run with it. As long as you're able to balance your life, then it's okay. And I'm moving over to weeaboo, which is the term that more people get upset about. Weeaboo is definitely a derogatory term. It's not necessarily used in a good way. And whenever I've heard anyone say it, to be completely honest, I've only really heard this term around the anime community or the manga community, whatever you want to call them, for the last year. So I feel weird about it, but Weeaboo is really someone who is so into anime and manga, but also Japanese culture, that they kind of crap on their own. They're like, oh man, America sucks, and they just start disrespecting the entire lineage they came from and abandon it for Japanese things. But they also don't do the Japanese things that well either. They're not that great at that part because it's they learn everything that they know from reading magazine articles or from watching anime or reading manga. And I will absolutely tell you guys that at one point in my life I was 110% weeaboo and didn't even know it. I was so obsessed with the idea of this other world that I knew nothing about, that it was so appealing from what I saw in the books and the shows I watched, that I was like, you know what, after this America stuff, this sucks. I grew up with an identity crisis to some degree. I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be, and so I found a lot of myself in some of these characters because I was super insecure and I was super skittish around women, and I've told you guys this story a million times, but I saw myself in characters like Tenchi Muyo. In a lot of the harem anime, the lead character is this sheepish guy, or this guy that's a little bit afraid of everything, and that's totally who I was. And so I watch these shows and go, man, that's totally me. I identify with him. Or I will watch things like Dragon Ball Z and see the guy who trains, becomes really strong and is a good fighter, and I wanted to be that. And I was like, yo, this all comes from Japan, and this is where I want to be. I would do things I would go to Chinatown in Chicago here. I would buy Pocky and chopsticks, and I wouldn't buy a ninja outfit per se, but I would just buy Japanese things, and I would wear them around, and I would just talk about it all the time. I would eat Pocky 24/7. That's what I thought Japanese people did. I would only eat with chopsticks. I would watch the shows and see that the characters pick up their bowls and shove food in their mouth. That's the cultural way to do it in Japan, but I didn't know that, so I just thought this was the way you're supposed to eat, because they were eating in a more superior way. And I was always talking about how Japan was way better than us in every single aspect. Hey guys, did you know that the Japanese have better technology than us. They're ahead of us by like 40 years. You guys know that? You know, I had this big superiority complex about a place I wasn't even from or had never been to. It was freaking ridiculous. I mean, that's just the fact. I would always just kind of crap on America constantly, and again, have all this pride in Japan, and I wasn't even from there. I was learning how to speak Japanese, which again, there's nothing wrong with any of this stuff. You can do all this stuff and not necessarily be a weeaboo, but I feel like I took it to an extreme where I was definitely like so far gone that it was ridiculous. And the fact is, like, I came back to my real senses when I just got older and realized that, you know what, I'm black and I'm in America, and I'm not going to become a Japanese person. I'm not going to move to Japan, you know, and Japan isn't necessarily like the best place on the planet. They're not better than us. We're not better than them. We're just people. We're just different. We have different cultures, and that's okay, and that can be accepted, you know. Again, I had a point where it was just like, go Japan, buy USA, go away, you guys suck, Japan up, yeah. And like, that was just the wrong way to go about anything. You should never, ever obsess. And that's where the weeaboo comes into play, because the weeaboo is a non-Japanese person who loves anime and manga and Japanese culture, as I said previously. But it's like, to a sad degree, and that makes me say to some degree that like an otaku can be a weeaboo and a weeaboo can be an otaku. It's just about the extremes you take each thing, you know. And again, I don't think that necessarily a weeaboo is a 100% bad thing. It's just the fact that these people are people that aren't doing it right, you know. Like, they're not actually like enamored with the actual culture. They're just trying to find something to make themselves feel accepted. Because I know for me, because I had that identity crisis and I didn't know who I was or who I wanted to be, I just saw myself in Japanese things, and I wanted to be that because I hadn't figured out who I was. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with identifying with something else to find yourself. That's a great, awesome thing. But you also need to be willing to be a diversified person and really push yourself to a point where you are like well-versed in multiple things and you're not obsessed over one thing. That goes across the board for anything. I'll use an example of a time that I was a weeaboo about something that wasn't even like related at all to Japanese culture, to kind of make it make more sense. So when I first became a Christian, which I am, hi guys, I was like Jesus freaked out, like out of my mind. I threw away all of my all of my secular music, which is music that isn't made by Christian artists or isn't about God. I would just like freaking like preach up and down about like the dangers of not living a Christ-filled life. I would preach up and down about the scary part of, you know, the world out there, like the normal things. I was like, oh my God, you guys are watching South Park. You guys are awful and you're going to hell. I wouldn't tell people that, you know, but I was thinking in my head all the time. When I say preach, I didn't get on like a soapbox and tell people. These are things I kept to myself because I was never like a person who wanted to push my laurels on other people, but I would like constantly think about these things. And it was crazy. It was crazy. Nothing wrong with being a Christian, nothing wrong with loving God, but it gets to a point where you need to have a balance. You need to be able to live your life in a normal sense and also live your life in a sense where you are, you know, pleasing and very like into God. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, there are extremes. If you take it to an extreme, it's wrong. You know, it's just wrong because you lose a sense of reality when you do that with anything. And that's how the weeaboo are kind of like, I guess, portrayed, and that's kind of what they are. One of my favorite anime when I was at the height of my weeaboo-ness was Great Teacher Onizuka, which if you don't know, you should go watch it. It's actually a good show. It was super awesome to me because I got to see what life was like from a Japan aspect. Oh yeah, and I never questioned why the lead person looked like Eminem, or why there were a lot of blonde people walking around Japan. I never really understood that, but I was like, no man, doesn't matter. This is what life is like in Japan. I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna become a teacher, it's gonna be awesome, oh yeah. But in reality, that wasn't what life is like. Like, I get it that some parts of Japan are dangerous, and there's like the Yakuza and whatnot, and all the street gangs and things like that, but you can't learn that from watching the show. Like, you can't. Like, I would play the game Shenmue, and by the way, I did help with the Kickstarter, play the game Shenmue, just kind of fantasizing that this is going to be my life in a couple of years. And the fact is, it wasn't reality. These are all entertainment pieces, you know? They're entertainment. They're not my life. And I need to separate the two. And that's how you learn to like really separate the otaku from the weeaboo. Is have you separated your life from these things that are supposed to make you happy and entertain you for a little bit of time? Or are you completely surrounded by it constantly? Is it all you do? If it's all you do, you're doing it wrong. So in this debate between Weeaboo and Otaku, there is no winner. There is no winner. There just is. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be a Weeaboo. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be an Otaku. I think that every anime and manga fan from America starts out as a Weeaboo because you get so into it that it goes to a crazy degree. But then you slowly digress and realize what you're doing, and then you morph into more of an Otaku type. And then there are levels to otaku-ness where you can either be extreme with it or you can be moderate. And I say try to be moderate. Try to be moderate with it. Enjoy your thing, but don't be obsessed. But what do you guys think? Is an otaku a good thing? Is it a weeaboo a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What do you guys think? Let's talk about it down below. I know this is a topic that is pretty well versed in the anime culture on the internet, so let's just dig into it. Also, if you guys really want more information, I'm telling you, go watch the Anime Man's videos. I will link to them. I really appreciate everything you guys have done so far when watching these videos. I love it. I love the dialogue. I love everything you guys have given me so far. Let's really get deep into it. Again, I have other anime debate videos. I'll put a link right here. Go check them out. There's a playlist. I have 12 of these. You'll really enjoy them. And a traditional anime debate video will be coming out next week. I will see you guys on Monday for another Nerd Motivation. I will see you guys tomorrow for something weird. And I'll see you next Wednesday for another anime debate. Alright, I am super late for work. Gotta put on my business hat. Let's go! I'm running on the intro of all the anime